And yet another wonderful day, my friends. We left off in our last study, Leviticus 2, with the grain or the meat offering. And in chapter 1, we went over the burnt offering. Now we're going to be going over the peace offering. In the previous two, as you'll see, the worshiper, he got nothing. He brought the bull, the sheep, the goat, whatever it may have been, and all of it was burned except for the hide, which was given unto the priest, and all burned up in the burnt offering. In the grain offering, we see that he brought whatever it was, flour, if he had prepared it into unleavened flat cakes or whatever it may have been. He still got nothing, but a handful went into the altar and the other went to the priest. Now we're going to be seeing the peace offering, and this is an all-around dinner of sorts. Verse 1. And if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or female, could be either one, he shall offer it without blemish before the Lord. Now you may be asking, well, why is there a male and a female involved here? Well, once again, this is, I believe, hearkening all the way back to that of Adam and Eve and how Christ is taking the place of both male and female within his church. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and Aaron's sons the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. Now once again, the symbolism involved must be paid heed to right here, because it is distinguishing from that of the burnt offering, sin offering, trespass, and all this. Unlike the laying on of hands of the burnt offering, there was no confession of sin here, but the utterance of words of praise to God. And this might be done in any place of the courtyard, which was most convenient for the offerer to kill the sacrifice. And Matthew Poole made a note at this point. Part of this sacrifice was to be waved by the hands of the offerer himself, who might not come into the court. And because this offering was not so holy as the others, which were to be eaten only by the priest, whereas part of these was eaten by the offerer. And as we discussed in the first chapter, the symbolism behind sprinkling, or rather pouring the blood around the middle section of the altar, the symbolism involved in that may be that of Christ's whole body. Verse 3. And he shall offer of the sacrifice of the peace offering an offering made by fire unto the Lord, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards. The fat is considered the most important and the best part of the sacrifice to God. As the most valuable part of the animal, the fat belonged to God and hence had a peculiar sanctity, for which reason it was not allowed to be eaten. Verse 4. And the two kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. Well, first of all, what is this caul above the liver? The caul fat, also known as lace fat, omentum, the fat netting right here, is the thin membrane which surrounds the internal organs of some animals, such as cows, sheep, and pigs, also known as the greater omentum. But you may be asking, well, why the kidneys? What does the kidney do in a cow? The kidneys are a pair of bean-shaped organs that help make red blood cells and remove waste from the body. And this seems very appropriate to me. The very organ in our bodies and in cows and everything else, the very organ in which disposes of waste, filters out the good from the bad, is what God desires to be offered up to him. It's very symbolic. But then one must consider, well, why is the fat known as the most valuable part of the sacrifice? David Guzik commented, fat was considered to be the prime portion, giving flavor and moisture to the meat of the animal. Fat is the stored energy of the animal. It is a way of offering one's energy and work to God. Verse 5, And Aaron's son shall burn it on the altar upon the burnt sacrifice, which is upon the wood that is on the fire. It is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Now it's appropriate to mention right here what we'll learn later on, Lord willing, in Leviticus 7. Besides these choice pieces that we just went over, kidneys, fat, all of this, which had thus to be burnt, the breast and the right shoulder were reserved for the priest, whilst the remainder of the peace offering was eaten by the offerer, his family, and his friends. Now, one possible symbolism of the breast and right shoulder being given to the priest may also point to the crucifixion, as the breast made denote being pierced at the side, and of course the right shoulder, how burdened that they would have been. Verse 6, Now those were for, once again, the bulls. Those from the herd would be mainly from the rich, the more wealthy among the Israelites. But now we're going to come down once again to the middle class. And if his offering for a sacrifice of peace offering unto the Lord be of the flock, the sheep or the goats, male or female, once again, male or female, he shall offer it without blemish. If he offer a lamb for his offering, then shall he offer it before the Lord. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and kill it before the tabernacle of the congregation, and Aaron's sons shall sprinkle the blood thereof round about upon the altar. And once again, the laying on of the hand is to say, this animal is now taking my place. And he shall offer of the sacrifice of the peace offering an offering made by fire unto the Lord, the fat thereof, and the whole rump. Now notice this, the tail, every bit of it's all fat, every bit of it. And the whole rump, it shall he take off hard by the backbone, and the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards. Pulpit noted, the burning of the fat tail upon the altar, together with the internal fat, is the only point in which the ritual to be used when offering a sheep differs from that used in offering a bull or a cow or a goat. And the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire unto the Lord. And if his offering be of a goat, then he shall offer it before the Lord. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of it, and kill it before the tabernacle of the congregation, and the sons of Aaron shall sprinkle the blood thereof upon the altar round about. And he shall offer thereof his offering, even an offering made by fire unto the Lord, the fat that covereth the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidneys, it shall he take away. Now, as you can see, these sacrifices, they can be so confusing whenever you haven't studied in depth the book of Leviticus, but you see how kind of straightforward that they are. If you would have just been a priest at that time and had a list, somewhere near or on you, then you could have easily have went through with these sacrifices after a time or two of doing them. This wouldn't have been a very confusing thing for them. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire for a sweet savor. All the fat is the Lord's. It shall he be a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings, that ye eat neither fat nor blood. Think it no coincidence, my friends, about how evil folks are so entranced by vampires and monsters and scary stories and all of these werewolves, these blood drinkers, and how Satanists, they so love drinking blood because it's against God. God says, all they in whom hate me love death. And what are these things? They're living dead. And as you'll see how Hollywood so often, they're not often the bad guys, these vampires. No, they're quickly starting to become these very elegant and to be admired characters, these vampires. But I'd like to quote one final comment by the fellowship.site in regard to this peace offering, this in which you get to share a meal with God. It's the first one that we're told about in Leviticus. How sad it is that most of us also and only think about our burnt offering that we bring unto him, which represents Christ, but the fellowship noted how it's wholehearted devotion but fail to enjoy our peace offering, that we can spend time with God and know Him and love Him and enjoy His sweet presence in our lives. I find that so many people, they live in such fear of God all the time instead of enjoying His presence and being ever so grateful. My friends, it will dawn on us one day that He is the greatest friend that we have ever had and will ever have. He is our Father, and more a father than your earthly dad could ever be.